Here are 10 things you need to know before you buy from an estate in Abuja. Like you know already, real estate in Abuja is different from every other place in Nigeria. So it's important you are well informed before you take certain steps in buying in Abuja. And today we're talking about buying from an estate in Abuja. 10 things you need to know. Now let's dive right in. Number one, you have to know whether it's a build now or build later estate. And that has to go in line with your need analysis. After you've decided what you want, do you want to buy and build immediately, or you want to buy and hold for a while before building or sell? You need to ask yourself, the estate I am about to buy from, is it a build now or build later kind of estate? And how do you find that out? But before I tell you how you find that out, let me explain what a build now is or a build later is. Some estates here in the city of Abuja, when you buy from them, as soon as you're completing your payment, you have 24 months to build up to roofing stage, roofing level. So that comes some pressure, yeah? Exactly. So you need to know if it's something you can do. So you will say, oh, nobody told me. I thought I could just buy and build whenever I like. It's important you know that a build now means once you're done with completing your payments, you have to build complete to roofing level in 24 months. That's 2 years, right? What does build later mean? Build later means, okay, if you buy from this estate, there's no pressure. You can build, it's often stated, okay, you can build in a space of 4 years, 3 years, or as the case may be. It's important to know that. Then, how do you find out if it's a build now or build later? There's something called an offer letter. So if you're interested in the property I have, for instance, when you meet me, I'll say, oh, you're interested in my property. I will give you an offer letter. And please, it is important that you go through the offer letter. It lets you know the terms and conditions, what is obtainable by buying or investing in that estate. Number two, it secures your investment. So when you're buying from an estate, things like title wahala or demolitions or issues with the government are already sort of sorted out for you, unlike when you're buying from a single plot from an individual. Estates go ahead to do a majority of the work for you, thereby making you safe in investing or buying from that estate. So yes, that's one of the perks that comes from buying from an estate. The estate also helps you look out for yourself. If anything should perhaps go wrong in the future, the estate or the company can always stand in the gap for you as well. Number three, you get good features, good estate features, things like exclusivity, security, serenity and beauty, utility management, paved roads, drainages, street lights, and recreational facilities. Out of all these things mentioned, I'll actually just explain one to you or for you, which is a perk that comes with buying from an estate that you need to know. So utility management talks about things like water management of the estates, waste management, and the likes of that. Buying from an estate, these things are already made. A system is already created to make sure that your utility is handled rightly when you buy from an estate, and it's something that tends to stress a lot of people when they don't buy from estates. But buying from an estate, you enjoy these things. Of course, security is understandable, good access road, understandable street lights and recreational facilities. These ones are understandable. These are beautiful things that come from buying in an estate. Number four of what you need to know before buying from an estate now is the estate charges 5% of the price for change of ownership. So you buy from an estate and you want to sell, the estate is going to charge you 5% for the change of ownership. It's important that you know this, okay? Because most times, to avoid being at loggerheads at the end of the day, if you want to resell, it's important that you know that the estate will charge you 5% for the change of ownership. What does that 5% go into? Processing of documents for the new owner of the property. So it's more like saying, okay, imagine that someone is interested in the property and the person comes and wants to buy. It's like saying, okay, see, this person that wants to buy, here is the person. It's like making sure there's a understanding, a communal relationship between the developers and the new buyer, so that everything that happens is transparent and is good. They also ensure that the title transfer and all of that goes seamlessly. It's important that you know that when you buy from an estate, you will be charged 5% for the processing of the document. It is important. Number five is you are definitely going to follow a building prototype. When you're buying from an estate, you don't just buy and decide what you're going to build by yourself. You buy a plot, a 150 square meter plot, and say, I'll build a very slim skyscraper here. No, it doesn't work like that. For every plot size, there is a building prototype that you must follow externally. The external design must correspond with what the estate has approved for that plot size. You can't just buy and decide you want to build what you want to. It must correspond with the building prototype. The internal design may be different, but externally it must correspond, and it is important that you know that. Number six, you need to know that you have a timeline to build, oftentimes 2 to 3 years after allocation is done. So once payment is completed and you are allocated your plot when you buy from an estate, you have a maximum of 3 years to build. It's important that you know this so you wouldn't say along the line that you're being pressured to build. Oftentimes, when you buy, you've got 2 to 3 years to build. And I mentioned part of this in point number one. And you get to know that by receiving an offer letter. And I mentioned it's important that you read it, study it extensively to know what it's about. Number seven, when you buy from an estate, it's also important that you know that there are extra costs involved. By extra cost, this means that you need to know that the price of the land is not all that you're going to pay for. Okay, you're going to pay for what's called an infrastructure and development levy, as well as other estate management fees. So when you're buying from an estate, this is also going to be made known to you when you get an offer letter. It's not just the price of the land. There's going to be a particular amount that is for infrastructure development. Infrastructure means for everything that comes with the estate, like roads, good water, all of that. Making sure that you receive premium, the best of infrastructure development, of infrastructure in that estate. You're also going to make some payments for that and development levy as well. That comes. So you need to know when buying from an estate that there will be extra cost. Number eight, you need to know that your engineers shall be and will be screened. So because there's a standard of buildings that every house in that estate will have, every engineer that you bring, perhaps to bring you to build your house, will be screened. Because estates, the name of the estate and the developer matters. No developer wants to hear after a number of years that a house in his estate collapsed because of substandard materials that were used. So when you're buying from an estate, your engineer will be screened to know their track record, to know if they can build the standard and quality of houses that are needed to stand in that estate. So it's important that you know that. And also the building process will also be supervised by some of the estate's own engineers. You see, that is to maintain a standard of quality to ensure that you build right. Number nine, when you're buying from an estate, it's important that you know that the title that you're receiving for that estate is a general C of O or R of O, as the case may be. So when developers buy out hectares or large expanses of land, often that whole expanse of land is registered to get a singular C of O that will then be shared to investors or buyers through their deed of assignment. So you're buying into one particular, what they often call a global C of O, that would then be given to you through the deed of assignment. So you don't expect to see a C of O in your own name. You're buying into the C of O or R of O and getting it through your deed of assignment. It is important that you know that, so that you don't begin to ask questions like, but why is the C of O not in my name, when you're done paying for the property from an estate? Except you're buying from an estate that has the title called mass housing. So in places like Karsana and some other parts of Abuja, when you buy a house or a plot, you're getting a mass housing title. And with that mass housing, when you build to the roofing level, you can apply through the developer to get a C of O in your own name for your own house. Okay, that is where the exception happens. But if you're buying land from an estate that already has a C of O, you're getting your own C of O through your deed of assignment. Finally, number 10. I hope you've gotten value thus far. Of course, you have. Number 10, you need to know that there are documents you will get upon payment and documents that you will get later. And I'll tell you that right now. These are documents you get upon completing your payment. You will get your allocation letter, you get your acknowledgement receipt and contract of sales upon making your payment successfully. These ones are given to you almost immediately after making your payments. Now, these are the documents you're going to get later after making your payments. You need to know this so you don't begin to panic or think something is wrong when you make payments. You're going to get your deed of assignment or conveyance much later. This is because they're going to need a property lawyer or a lawyer to process the documents, ensure that everything is written clearly and well in your name for your safety, and also your irrevocable power of attorney in cases where that document is offered. These are documents you're likely going to get later. So there you have it, 10 things that you must know before you buy from an estate. Now that you know this, it's our job to ensure that you make the best buying decision, that you're always confident and comfortable with the decision you make when you want to buy from Abuja. Call the phone number on your screen to get started. Until then, see you in the next one.